So, applications of linear systems. So there's kind of two parts to today's notes. First one is when to use graphing for solving systems. When do I use graphing? When I want a visual display or when you want to estimate a solution. Because graphing is not usually very accurate, not nearly as accurate as solving by other methods. It just gives me an estimate. The reason you really want to do it is to give you a picture of what's going on. Graphing is all about what it looks like. It's not so much about the exact numbers. It's about what's going on visually. Okay, that's what graphing is about. What's going on visually. Okay. When do we want to use substitution? When one or more equations is already solved. When one equation is already solved for one variable, or it's easy to do. Easy to solve for one variable. If I have equations like what I did for our substitution, when you had y equals 2x minus 1 or whatever it was, on the example we just did, that makes it easy to do substitution. Okay, you got x equals something, makes it easy to do substitution. When y equals something, it's easy to do substitution. Okay. When do you want to do elimination? When the coefficients of one variable are matching but opposites. Basically, when you can add two equations or subtract two equations to get them to go away, that's when you want to do elimination. On your test, not the one today so much, but the one at the end of your chapter test, which will be Thursday next week. Not next time, not Thursday this week, Thursday next week will be your chapter 6 test. If I ask you to solve it using a particular method, you must use that particular method to solve it or you get a 0. If I say use elimination and you use substitution, you get a 0. I don't care if you get the right answer or not. It's not just about the answer, it's about the process. Did you do what I asked you to do? Okay, if you don't do it the way I ask you to do it, you will get a 0 for that question. Because I need to know that you can solve it doing different ways. Okay. Now the second part of this notes, really it's just, this is why you want to use graphing to solve an equation. You would want to use graphing to give you a picture of what's going on. Okay? That's it. That's what graphing does, is it gives you a good picture of what's going on. I have here a sample of what we're going to be doing for our the next couple of problems. You're running a company. You're making something. You're selling something. You have one equation for expenses, one graph for expenses. How much does it cost you to make those items? You have one graph for income. How much money do you make off of those items? Where those two graphs cross each other is your break-even point. If you sell this many items, you will break even. You will not make money. You will not lose money. Anything prior to that, because the graph of expenses is above the graph of costs of income, you're going to lose money. Anything after that, your income is more than your expenses. You're going to make money. Where is my break-even point? Okay? It's important to know where your break-even point is. If you're making birdhouses in your backyard and you figure out that your break-even point for what you're making them for or what you're selling them for is 300 bird boxes, you're going to have an awful hard time selling 300 bird boxes in your neighborhood. You're going to have to figure out where to sell more than that in order to make money. You know, and the same thing goes true for a business. Let's say you're designing cars. You're a car maker, and you come up with a new car you want to sell. And by doing market research, you figure it's going to cost, you're going to have to sell, 300,000 cars in order to break even. Well, 3,000 of one particular kind of car is an awful lot. It's an awful lot of cars. And it better be really something special, and you better be able to make those 300,000 a year, and you better be able to sell them, or you're not going to be, it would not be a good business decision to make those. So it's important when you're doing business, important no matter how big or small. If you're doing any kind of making and selling, you want to know where you're going to make money and when you're not going to make money. Okay. So let's do a couple of applications. Okay, problem number 1, finding a break-even point. A fashion designer makes and sells hats. The material for each hat costs $5.50. The hats sell for $12 each. The designer spends $1,400 on advertising. How many hats must the designer sell to break even? Okay, you'll notice there are 2 equations we have to come up with, and it tells you which one you want. The income equation and the expense equation. Everything involved is either money coming in or money going out. And when you're manufacturing, it's either coming in or it's going out. You got to figure out which one it is. So the income equation, how much money we're bringing in. Okay, we're bringing in Y dollars. What's bringing the money in? Selling the hats, right? So the hats sell for $12.50 each. So Y equals $12.50. That's how much money I'm making, $12.50x. X is the number of hats. So $12.50 times the number of hats tells me how much money I brought in. That makes sense, right? You sell 10 hats, you made $125. Okay. Expenses. The amount of money going out is equal to how much it costs to go out. How much I'm spending. So I have 2 costs. I have the material I spend on each hat and the $1,400 I spent on advertising. Put up a web page. $1,400, they have a web page designed and have it up there and running for however long. You're going to sell them on the internet. It works. So I have 2 types of costs here. I have one for the one-time cost of advertising, and I have one output for how much it is per hat. So it costs me $5.50 per hat, plus the $1,400 I spent on client side. Does this make sense? How much money I'm bringing in? $12.50 per hat. How much money is going out? $5.50 per hat, plus the $1,400 on expenses. Now I have to solve this to figure out how many hats I need to sell to break even. This is actually a really good equation to work with because I can do substitution. Y equals 1250x, take that 1250, put it into the second equation for Y. 1250x equals 550x plus 1400. That's actually substitution. But also it makes sense. Your break-even point is where your income equals your outcome. How much money you're bringing in equals your expenses. That's what I have here. The money coming in from hats equals the money going out to make the hats and the advertising. When those numbers are equal, I've broken even. Solve for x. Subtract 550 from both sides, or sorry, 550x. And you get 7x equals 1400. Divide both sides by 7. X equals 200. So how many hats do I have to sell to break even? I got to sell 200 hats. If I sell 199 hats, I lose money. If I sell 201 hats, I make money. If I sell 200, I break even. More than that, I make money. Less than that, I don't make any money. I lose money. Okay. Nice to know. Nice to know that's what I have to do. Do you want to make 200 hats to sell 200 hats? Some people don't want to put in that much work. Maybe they're easy to make. Maybe they're a real pain in the butt. Making 200 of them is really hard. Maybe you ought to charge more for them. Okay? Basic economics. So think about how many people make stuff at home and sell it on the internet. This is a good idea to understand these basics. So, you know, if you're ever doing something like that, ooh, I can make that, and I can sell it. Gives you an idea whether or not, how to figure out whether or not you actually want to do it. Okay. Okay. Same thing. Two equations. One for income. And one equation for expenses. Expense. Take a minute. Okay, so that should hopefully be enough time. So let's see. Price of the book is $2. So for the income, Y equals 2X. Your cost, initial cost is $864. Packaging is 80 cents each. Y equals 0.80X plus 864. So to solve this, I do 2x equals 0.80x plus 864. Subtract 0.8 minus 0.80x from both sides. So I get 1.2x equals 864. And how much? 720. Thank you. Divide both by 1.2. And I get x equals 720. So he has to sell 720 books to break even. Probably going to be able to do that depending on where he sells the books. 720 books is not a lot to sell. Not really. Now if it's a puzzle book, think about it. If you can get them in the grocery stores or something like that, you know, even if they only put 5 or 6 per store, it doesn't take a lot of stores before pretty soon you got a bunch of them being sold. You know, some publisher to sell them for you, you can probably do pretty well with that. Okay. Any questions?
That's 720.
Yes, 720. You know, 360 twice. So he's spinning around 4 times.